Hi there, everybody. Welcome to How Deep is Your Data? Exploring and iterating off CTV's reporting dashboards. My name is Eric Hatzenbuhler. I am going to be your presenter today, and I'm a senior digital marketing manager here at Mountain, and I manage all of our paid efforts. So, not just our own Mountain campaigns through the platform, but also paid search, paid social, digital audio, everything that lives under the paid media umbrella. I in charge of. So very familiar with paid search. That's my primary background and area of expertise. So really excited to talk with you all today. Really, what we're looking for in terms of today's key takeaway is taking a look at connected TV's digital roots and how, of course, with automation and the move towards automation in paid media, one area where a lot of new initiatives and products that have come out from different platforms has sort of lacked is visibility and transparency. And we want to talk about how we love automation, we love auto optimization for what it brings on the performance side, but there's a lot left to be desired in terms of the insights and visibility and reporting aspect of that. So we want to talk through how Mountain provides those insights, and then ultimately how you can take those learnings and apply them beyond the TV screen. So for today's agenda, we're going to take a look first at some of our real reporting dashboards. We're going to dive into some of the views that we provide and talk through why they can be helpful. Ultimately, we'll also talk about how you can take those learnings and insights and, as I mentioned, apply them outside of the connected TV space and outside of your campaigns on Mountain. And then also why I mentioned I'm a search marketer myself, why search marketers already have the expertise they need to launch connected TV campaigns on the Mountain platform. It's super simple. So we'll talk through that as well. All right, let's dive in. CTV is data rich. And, I think that's something that we think about television historically, linear TV as not providing a lot of data. And connected TV, because it's, of course, rooted in digital, the amount of data is extensive and it's really endless. So how can we take as much data and insight out of the platform while also relying on the tried and true and proven auto optimization strategies and bid strategies that exist to drive performance? So we're going to take a look at that, as I mentioned, but also a really transparent view into what is working. See insights across your audiences, your creative, different networks, really any view and metric that you'd like to build. The reporting dashboard is also fully customizable. So you can build your own views with your own metrics and filters and level of segmentation. But we'll talk through a few of the core ones that are standard within the platform today. So really seeing is believing. We talk a lot about the extensive data as we've mentioned that they can provide. So let's just dive into a couple of the platforms. And we'll start with the network reporting view. So again, because we are a connected TV platform, a lot of our placements, all of our placements are what we consider living room quality, which I'll get into a little bit on the next slide. But we're serving on premium networks. And it's really important, of course, the platform, based on the goals that you set at the campaign level and what you're trying to optimize towards, the platform is going to, read all of this data much faster and much more efficient than we can as humans. But it's also important to have that level of transparency, because if you'd like to, you can validate the optimizations that the platform is making on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But it's also nice to have these views to extract this type of insight for internal conversations, informing larger marketing strategy, identifying potential new areas of opportunity and networks in terms of audiences and things like that you'd like to work with in the future. There's also the opportunity, think about negative keywords on the search side. While the Mountain platform will, of course, optimize performance to the best performing areas and networks, you do have the option to exclude specific networks from your campaigns and placements. So if there are networks, for any reason that you'd like to not show ads on, you have the freedom and ability to do so. So take a look at this network reporting. Again, it's very extensive. You can look at impressions, users reached, conversion data, verified visits and visit rates from the ads to your website, everything like that drilled down at the network level, which is something that's really fun to look at and insightful and something that I love about the platform. As I mentioned, living room quality. we've sort of created and defined that ourselves at Mountain. And really what that means is that our ads sort of meet those three criteria listed there. It's non-skippable inventory. It's always TV content, so no placements on mobile or desktop. So you're guaranteeing that your ad is showing on the largest screen in the house. And then, of course, we all work with top tier streaming services. I mentioned premium networks. When you are familiar with the Mountain platform and take a look at that network reporting within the dashboard, you'll recognize all of those names as the major networks. And that's what we define as living room quality. It's really the highest level of quality, so that you feel comfortable in terms of brand safety, and of course, just the level of efficiency you're getting out of the ads and the spend that you have. This is my favorite view in the Mountain dashboard personally, and this is audience segment reporting. So this is really exciting because we think of how you may be structuring campaigns, especially in the paid social realm. There are certain platforms out there that make it really, really difficult to, you either have to create 90 plus campaigns with each specific audience segment in its own campaign for you to get that level of insight. Or you can combine all of those audience segments under one campaign, rely on the performance and the automation there, but you lose the insight into which specific audience segments are performing well, and you lose those learnings. So the audience segment reporting here on the Mountain platform allows you to combine all of your, themed or similar audiences under one campaign. In this case, I like to use prospecting as an example. You can combine all of your prospecting audiences and audience segments under one campaign. The Mountain platform will again optimize to your goal that you have set. If that's conversions, if that's visits to your website, whatever that might be. But you also still have insight into which specific segments are driving performance for you or are potentially performing worse than others. So this is really exciting because it allows you to see what's working. It allows you to cast a really, really wide net and allow the platform to do its job, but you still have insight into that. And you can go in and tweak your campaigns, potentially remove certain audience segments that aren't driving performance or below benchmark for you. Potentially you gain some learnings that you can apply to other platforms, and in terms of new audiences you might be able to target and explore across social and search. So this is a really exciting view. I love the combination here of automation in terms of throwing everything under one campaign, allowing the platform and the algorithm to do its job, but still getting the level of reporting and insight that, as digital marketers that are very data driven, we love to see. So this is something that, is super exciting, a view that I use personally quite a bit. Then, of course, we also have creative reporting. May not be a surprise here, but it's very important in the CTV space, just as it is in any ad channel, that you understand how your creative is performing and which creative versions are performing best. You can run true A/B tests in our platform. We'll talk through how easy that is. But of course, the creative reporting here in terms of the dashboard is very straightforward, very easily filterable by different creative versions and creative types. So you can take a look at everything that you're running, get those very high level insights, or drill down into specific versions and get performance estimates and insights, I should say, at the creative level. So maybe straightforward, but very vital to have. And, with some newer ad types, especially in the search space or campaign types coming out with asset groups and things like that, we don't even have the level of granularity of creative reporting with some of those. So definitely a nice to have here in terms of just an extra level of segmentation and insight that you can get out of the dashboard. And then, of course, we have display publisher reporting as well. This is very similar to the network reporting on the TV side, but more applied to the audience extension creative that you would run through the Mountain platform. And just for some insight into what that is, audience extension is a display component of Mountain's offering that really allows you to reach your target audience that have seen your TV ads on their secondary devices. So, their mobile phones, desktops, tablets, things like that, with display placements. So, it really ties hand in hand with the TV ad. They're seeing that. And then you're also uploading, supporting creative from a display side to help influence that user and continue to stay in front of them no matter what device they're on in the household. So similar to network reporting, you can see performance down to the display publisher level. And then you can ultimately, again, exclude any publishers from your targeting if you would like to avoid placements on those. Uh, the algorithm will optimize accordingly, of course, but you're welcome to make those manual adjustments just like you would adding negative keywords to a search campaign. And one thing I really want to talk about, and I'm a big believer of this, we're a big believer of this at Mountain, is that CTV really elevates paid search and really all of your other channels. We get a really large amount of data out of CTV, but like we talked about at the beginning, it doesn't have to stop at the TV screen. It doesn't have to live only within the Mountain platform. You can take those learning and insights and apply them elsewhere. Think about potentially new keywords that would apply to audiences you've discovered within the Mountain platform and how you can get those set up and running within your existing paid search campaigns. Potential audiences that you could target across paid social. CTV's data can really provide those insights and just help you expand and grow your marketing mix as a whole. And we'll talk through some examples of cases where CTV has supported growth across search and social. It's also really important to know your audience. This is why I said the audience segment reporting is so important. Is the ability to just cast a wide net at the start is so vital. I've run a lot of campaigns early on in my career. I've been parts of organizations that feel so confident in who their target personas are that at times it feels like we've potentially excluded prospects and potential customers just because we've tried to focus so narrowly on that one audience. Because of the on-need segment reporting working hand in hand with the bidding algorithms, you can cast that wide net and still feel confident in the performance and efficiency, but also any new learnings and insights. Use the Mountain tool as an audience mining platform for you, figuring out new audiences that potentially work and pulling those to other channels. Even pulling those into your larger marketing or product strategy and figuring out how you can develop products and services to reach these potential users or potential customers. It can just really scale beyond CTV and other platforms don't provide that level of detail, or if they do, it requires a lot of manual setup on the front end and more time in terms of the day-to-day management for you as a digital marketer. Just updating daily budgets can be a nightmare. Uploading even just one new creative version if you have 50 campaigns can take an hour or more, half a day. And you can get that level of insight, but it's not intuitive and it's not easy to manage. So Mountain is great for that. As I mentioned, testing your creative is incredibly vital as well. And the A/B testing couldn't be easier within the Mountain platform. On the right-hand side there, you'll see creative A on the left, creative B on the right. It really is as easy as just adjusting that weighting percentage underneath each of the creative versions. So if you want to run an A/B test, you upload your two versions, you set creative A as 50%, creative B as 50%, and your test is live. You're running an A/B test. And as we mentioned, with the creative reporting in that dashboard, you can very easily identify and understand the performance differences between the two. The Mountain algorithm, over time will, of course, prioritize top performing creatives, but that's something that you can also make manual adjustments on if you see the data and you want to pull the trigger on that. So keep that in mind. That's something that is really, really easy to do within the Mountain platform. Again, can inform your creative strategy, not just on TV moving forward, but on additional channels because of the scale of connected TV and the reach and the potential there. You can reach conclusions, at times, sometimes much faster than you can through other channels like search, where you're more dependent on the existing demand than reaching, newer, broader audiences. And it's also really important to remember audience and creative work together. Pairing A/B test results or even running A/B tests against specific audience segments within your reports that you're seeing are performing well can give you deeper insights and even larger performance gains in terms of efficiency and scale moving forward. So maybe you're a retailer and you have electronics and you have apparel and you have grocery. Think about serving the right creative to the right audience that aligns with each of those categories, and test creative within each of those categories. You'll continue to gain learnings and and develop new insights that can guide your creative ideation moving forward and into the future. And then ultimately come back to the Mountain platform and continue to test and continue to iterate on those versions. You can just scale your performance and efficiency at incredible rates when testing, and creative testing combines with your audience segment reporting on an ongoing basis. And as we've talked about, you already have the skills. My background, I said, is primarily search marketing. We can take a lot of what you do on the search marketing side and bring it to CTV and have a campaign up and running within a few minutes. It's incredibly easy. It's something that can very well, launch quickly, but also supplement your strategy into 2023 and beyond, because CTV isn't going away. It continues to be a massive channel in terms of growth and scale. Continues to now exceed and outpace linear TV. So keep that in mind. It's not going away. It's a channel that you need to dive into at some point. So I strongly recommend you consider it in the near future as much as possible. So how can you take those existing skills from the search side and apply it to CTV? Well, one is creating a sophisticated account structure, covering the full funnel. We talk a lot about, on the search side, brand keywords and campaigns are great for driving lower funnel conversions and performance further down the funnel. But sometimes we neglect, or it's difficult to get buy-in to invest more into non-brand because maybe it's primarily focused on driving traffic. The CPCs can get very expensive. It's more competitive. How do you get the right messaging in front of the right user at the right time? Think about bringing that full funnel approach over to CTV. So, you have campaigns that align with each funnel stage on the search side. You've got your organized account by campaign, ad group, ads, you have ad extensions, everything like that. Take that same concept and apply it to TV, apply it to Mountain, apply it to connected TV. It's not a single use channel. TV is no longer just for awareness. It's no longer just for generating demand and getting your brand in front of new eyeballs. You can drive performance in the form of conversions and visits to your site through connected TV, and that's all measurable through the Mountain platform. So take your search structure, break out your campaigns by, you have your top of funnel prospecting, you have your mid funnel, which might be, CRM audiences. And then you have lower funnel, which might be site visitors or retargeting. You might have other ways to define each of these funnels, but this is just an example of how you can structure your campaign within the Mountain account. And then, of course, with your audiences, but ultimately your budgets and creative, you're able to segment all of that by these stages of the funnel. So you can serve different creative to those who have visited your site before, maybe being a little bit more direct with them or a little bit more conversion focused than those users at the top of the funnel. That being said, we personally see, as a B2B advertiser, a lot of conversion volume from prospects through connected TV and through the Mountain platform. So don't even think of prospecting here as just awareness. It can drive performance for you in the form of conversions and visits. So think about how you might want to segment your campaign structure, but think about that as it relates to your creative and your audiences, ultimately your budgets as well. If there are certain initiatives or areas where you want to have more control over the amount of spend going towards, I'll use the retailer example again. If your electronics division has a specific budget, make sure that you're segmenting your campaigns that way, because budget is controlled at the campaign level. But again, that's very similar to search, not a surprise there, and something that's very easy to navigate within the platform. And ultimately, you can optimize your budget. This is on the search side. As you're talking about, where can I find dollars to potentially run a test on CTV? We understand it's an important channel. We understand it's, a channel of, I wouldn't even say the future anymore, the present. How do we find dollars if we're not able to, secure additional funds to run CTV? Where do we kind of find the testing budget from? And it's important to take a look at your existing search and social activity and find ways to, reallocate some of those funds from areas that aren't driving the performance that you're looking for. We're not advocating for a situation where, you pause or reduce spend on keywords that are driving strong performance for you. We would never recommend that. However, there is always an opportunity. We're not perfect as digital marketers. There are opportunities within our accounts to take a look at poor performing search terms, keywords, specific areas or segments of the business, and think about, is that next dollar best spent within this ad group or on these set of keywords, or is it best spent testing out a net new channel for us? And that's where those dollars can come from when you think about testing budget for CTV. So think about avoiding those plateaus in paid search that we see so often, where we continue to pour more money in, but we just aren't seeing the returns, or we're running out of volume because the primary keywords or our MVP keywords are limited in the number of searches that we're getting every day or every week. We can't invest more dollars there, so we're trying to figure out what to do with some of our available funds. Don't over rely on paid search just because it's driving strong conversions and returns for you. You can get that performance out of connected TV through the Mountain platform as well. And then ultimately, as I mentioned, use that budget to generate new demand. And then optimize your CTV budget. That strategy starts over once you're live on the Mountain platform. Once you've collected data, you might be reaching prospects that originally only have 20% of your budget for CTV, but over time you might find that audience and that data set is performing really, really well for you. So think about optimizing your budget then within your CTV campaigns. Where can you maximize your budget? Take a look at your retargeting lists and your audience sizes there. Optimize your budget or feel comfortable with the balance of frequency against a more limited audience like retargeting, while also the obvious performance and efficiencies that come with targeting those users. So, play around with your budgets. I wouldn't recommend on the CTV side making significant changes to budgets, maybe more than once or twice a month, just because, again, the algorithms take time. There's just a little bit of a longer period there than what you're used to on the search side, where it's, type in a keyword that is indicative of high intent, user clicks and purchases right away. Also important to keep in mind your own kind of customer cycle and sales cycle, the timeline of that and what that looks like. If you're a B2B advertiser or an organization and your sales cycle is 60 or 90 days, keep that in mind and consider that when you're setting up attribution windows within the Mountain platform. Keep that in mind before you make too many optimizations or too many kind of like knee-jerk reactions to the data that you see over the first 2 weeks. If it's not likely for a user to convert within that time period anyway, then it necessarily might not be a surprise that performance takes a little bit longer to ramp up. So there's a whole other set of optimizations that can be made within the Mountain platform once you get those campaigns up and running, but nothing that you wouldn't be familiar with as a search marketer yourself. And this is just a really good example of how you can optimize your budget in a way on CTV that then impacts your existing paid channels. You can see paid search here. This is a case study from National Business Furniture. Following their addition of CTV to their media mix, seeing significant lifts in performance on both paid search and Facebook. 61% lift in assisted paid search conversions, 86% lift in conversion value, and even greater lifts on the Facebook side, 80% on the conversions, 131% in terms of conversion value. You're getting the benefit with Mountain of both awareness and a demand driver in terms of a paid channel. And that's really seen, we've seen it ourselves. Mountain is a significant driver of site traffic for us and conversion volume. It's up there, neck and neck with paid search. Some months it outperforms search. Some months search is a little bit higher than that, but it's absolutely a vital channel for us in terms of our paid media mix, even as a B2B advertiser. And you'll see that halo effect in your other channels as well. One thing you can do as well is rely on your existing keyword targeting. If you're thinking, where do I start with CTV from an audience standpoint? Your existing paid search strategy includes a lot of high intent keywords. You're bidding on terms that are relevant for your business, are relevant for your customers that they're searching on. So take those terms and apply those to the audience segments you're looking for within the Mountain platform. As you're researching prospecting audiences, use those same terms. Use demographic data that you have within the search and social platforms. Apply those to the Mountain platform and see what performs and see what works. But it's important to cast a broad net to start. The algorithm will optimize over time, and you have the ability and insight into the reporting to verify those optimizations, or potentially make those yourself. Although I don't recommend it. I recommend the auto optimization. It works very well. But use these existing keywords that you have in your search account to give you a jumping off point. Yeah, so kind of talking through this strategy one more time because it's important. Take those keywords, but align them to this funnel strategy. So you have prospecting, you have CRM, you have retargeting. Prospecting, you're likely targeting some of the third-party audiences, larger demographics, as I mentioned, general interests. Think of these as your non-brand keywords of sorts that are really high funnel. You're looking to capture demand if it exists. But occasionally you do see strong conversion volume through these campaigns and these audiences. For CRM, you do have the ability to upload customer lists to the Mountain platform and match against those users and target them on the TV screen, which is likely not something you're doing right now. That's not an area where you're reaching this high value list that you've identified as a business. So think about segmenting your campaigns potentially at the CRM level. And then of course we talked about retargeting as well. One extra tip that I added there at the bottom for retargeting: get granular with your pixel data. So think about, I'll use the retailer example for the third time. If you are a retailer with electronics and apparel, for example, you can build out audiences of users who have visited each of those categories on your site. So instead of just targeting anyone who's visited your site and kind of guessing on what creative might resonate with them, get as segmented as possible while still keeping the scale at a sufficient level. And then you can align your creative strategy and your ideation with the level of segmentation that you have built out on the retargeting side of things, to really hone in on those users and create creative that resonates with them at a time where they're watching, as I've said, the biggest TV screen, or the biggest screen in their house being the TV, on premium networks and premium services. So to recap, today's key takeaways: we talked about connected TV's digital roots. Linear TV has not ever provided the level of data that you can get out of connected TV. So think about how you can lean on the automation and auto optimization tools and algorithms within the platform, but we still provide that level of visibility and that level of transparency that a lot of automated tools that have released recently or continue to release don't provide across paid search and social. You don't get that level of insight, and you just have to trust the data, which I know as a digital marketer myself can be a little bit scary at times. So we still provide that level of transparency. You can take all of those learnings and apply them outside of the connected TV platform alone. So think about how you can apply those to social, search, your larger marketing strategy, as I mentioned, potentially even influence products and services at the business level with some of this data. And as we've talked about, as paid search marketers, you're equipped to set this up. CTV 4 or 5 years ago was always a little bit of a black box. It was typically run through a managed service. Mountain's platform is fully self-serve. You will feel comfortable within the dashboard views. You will feel comfortable within the platform. The naming conventions, the navigation setup, everything is what you're familiar with as a search marketer. So get in and get those campaigns set up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.